attention and learning from them. And this is a pretty cool way to go back and replay this to make sure you guys understand it. It seems like you guys did well on the interest and the rule of 72. Um, you guys just completed a formative assessment on that, and so I'll try and grade those sometimes this week and get them back to you. And then, if you didn't do too well on it, maybe go back and watch the video again until I come back to class. I should be in class on Monday because for jury duty, the government offices are closed for Casimir Pulaski Day, so I'll come back to school just for Monday, and then I gotta go back to jury duty for the rest of the week next week as well. So today we're gonna move on from interest, and we're gonna actually talk about savings plans. Okay, so there are three different categories of savings and investment choices that you can make with your money. The first one is savings plans, which is very safe. That includes savings accounts, certificate of deposits, which is also known as CDs, and a money market account. The other category are securities. These are a little bit more risky. Those are like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. And then the last is alternative assessments, which is the most risky, like real estate, commodities, and collectibles. But today we're just going to focus on the savings plans, which are these three. Okay? So what that means is this. You get money from your job, right? And you have your budget set out, and you're paying all your bills, but you want to put some money in savings. Now, if you want to put money in savings, it could be in case of an emergency, okay, right? You want to have some money in a savings account, which is a bank account, where you're not going to touch. You're just going to leave it there. It's going to grow a little bit of money, but you're doing this in case there's an emergency, like your car breaks, your refrigerator breaks, maybe you lose your job. You'll at least have some money to get by until the problem's fixed. So you'll definitely want a savings account set up to have some money in. Remember we talked about 6 months worth in that account. The first one we're going to talk about is a regular savings account. So go ahead and pause the video and write the definition of a regular savings account. All right, and I'm going to move on. So when you're done writing it, just unpause it. Regular savings accounts are savings plans with low balances, and you can easily deposit and withdraw money freely. Low balances means that you're not going to have hundreds of thousands of dollars in your savings account. You might just have that 6 months worth of savings in there, maybe 10 grand max, 20 grand max, and you just keep it in there in case of an emergency. It's a nice little backup plan. You can easily deposit and withdraw. So most savings accounts, stuff's done online. So you could type in a few things on the computer, boom, your money's transferred in from your bank account, and you could take money out easily, and there's usually no penalty with taking out money from your savings account. It pays a low amount of interest though. So by having money in a savings account, you're only going to get, if you look around right now, it's probably about 1% interest. That's it. So if you have $100 in a savings account, by the end of the year, they'll give you $1. Okay, yeah, that's not a lot, but like I said, people don't have $100 in the savings account. They might have $10,000, $20,000 in their savings account, and they'll get a little bit back at the end of the year. And maybe the savings account pays monthly. Remember, interest we talked about, it could be compounded, so it could be more. The point is, a savings account gives you 1% interest. That is free money. Whereas if you just put your money in like a checking account or in under your mattress, you're not getting any free money. And it's very, very safe in a regular savings account. Also, it's very liquid. We're going to talk about what liquid is later, but it just means you could get your money in and out easily if you need it. Say you want to put money in a savings account, but you know for a fact that you're going to not have to use it, you're not going to need it for maybe 5-10 years. Okay, so maybe you have a regular savings account set up, but now you also want to put some more money aside that you know you're not going to need for, like, say, a specific amount of time, like 10 years. Then you could open up a certificate of deposit, or a CD. So go ahead and pause the video and write down what a CD is. All right, I'll move on. CDs are savings plans where you must leave the money in the account for a specific period. It could be days or years. So say it depends. You could open up like a 5-year CD. You could open up a 10-year CD. And that means is when you put that money in that account, you have to leave it in there for the amount of years it says. If it's a 5-year CD, you have to leave that money in there for at least 5 years. Okay, the trade-off is it usually has a higher interest rate than a savings account. So if a regular savings account has a 1% interest rate, maybe a CD has a 3% interest rate. So you're like, wow, I'd rather have 3% than 1%. The downside is you cannot take that money out until the time's up. Also, it usually requires a minimum balance. It could be like 100, could be 200, it could be $1,000 minimum balance in order to open. The more money, the bigger the minimum balance is, probably the higher interest it pays because you're putting more money in. If you withdraw the money early, meaning if you take out the money early, there could be penalties and loss of interest. So sometimes you have to pay a fee. Sometimes you get your money back, but you don't get any of the interest you earned. So CDs are not very liquid, meaning you cannot freely take it in and out. So that's the downside, is you can't get the money when you need it. You have to wait till the time's up, 5, 10, 8, 6 years, whatever CD you get. But the good thing is it has a higher interest rate usually. So maybe a CD is, say you have money in a savings account already and you have like that $10,000, but now you want to save up to buy a car in 5 years. You know this money is only going to be for that car that you buy in 5 years. So maybe you put it into a CD. Knowing you cannot touch that money for 5 years anyways, it'll have a higher interest rate. And the last one we're going to talk about is a money market account. Go ahead and write this down, pause it. Okay, a money market account are savings plans that pay a variable interest rate based on various government and corporate securities. So this is another type of savings account, but the interest rate might change from day to day based on the different interest rate, to how the economy is doing and whatnot. You do not need to put money in for a specific period of time like a CD. But the one big distinction here is they do require a large minimum balance, meaning you have to start out with a good amount of money in there. So you can't just open it with $100. You might have to put $5,000, $10,000 into this account just to start. Okay? The good thing is that it pays a higher interest than a savings account usually, which is good, but it's usually less than a CD. But another good side of it is you could take the money out a little bit easier. And another thing is you could usually write checks with it. So say you have 10 grand in a money market account, you might be able to write a check with that money, which you can't do in like other savings accounts like a CD. So money market account, the interest rate changes, but it's usually higher than a regular savings, but a little bit lower than CDs. The big distinction is that you have to have a large minimum balance, meaning you have to start with a good amount of money in there. So if you don't have $5,000 to start, you probably can't open this. Okay? So these were the 9 categories that we're going to discuss. These are the 3 main ones: the savings account, the regular one, the certificate of deposit, and the money market account. Okay, so make sure you take those notes down, and we'll talk about different savings accounts and do some activities tomorrow. All right, we'll see you soon.